This one soul is watching. People may say I'm into conspiracy theories, but I just follow what my heart is telling me. I've opened up my eyes so that I can see all the lies that they've hidden from humanity. Oh, the lies. Yes, they've got us believing that we can't escape. All the systems are the only choices we can make. They've even made sure the ones of us who break free are scorned and judged by most of humanity. Yes, I've seen the reports of the ones who've lost their lives, the whistleblowers and inventors who tried to change our times, and then they have kept it hidden or told us more lies to discredit all the people who wouldn't keep quiet. The water-fueled cars invented, where are they now? And proof of vaccine damage always discredited somehow. Well, now I'm speaking up because I'll no longer be suppressed by all the world controllers who have mind-controlled the rest. Because our food system is full of toxic chemicals. Yes, the poison they spray on our land is harming us all. And then they up the prices of all that is healthy and discredit and control most natural therapies. With the many pharmaceuticals we use as a band-aid, because we've learnt to ignore our emotional pain. And then they use technology for all sorts of mind control. From the news to Facebook, fear spreads as lies are told. And now we don't know who to trust or what to believe, exactly how the controllers wanted us to be. Yes, the truth is out there, and I'm sure that you can see the mess we're in, all of humanity. Yet we are way more powerful than we've been led to believe, and I hope one day you will share this truth with me. Because I know their darkness, and I know their plans, and how they could be so evil I'll never understand. But I have been watching what they've done to humanity. Now, due to corruption, systems are failing. Can you see that people are awakening and seeing through the lies? And I'm going to help them, because now is the time. Yes, this one soul is watching, and this one soul she knows. This one soul is watching all the darkness be exposed. Yes, this one soul is watching, and this one soul she knows. Now is my time to help all darkness be exposed. Yes, now is my time to help all darkness be exposed. Okay, welcome back to Debbie's Sacred Space, and thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and listening. So, this one soul is watching. I actually wrote this song back in February 2020, early February 2020, because I went away because I needed a break and there was a lot going on in our lives, and I took 3 or 4 days in a small town, not a few hours from where we live. And I remember writing this song clearly because we didn't watch TV here at home, except for on the weekends the girls were allowed to, but because we homeschooled. So we never watched the news, we never really knew what was going on. To be honest, I can't even really remember hearing about COVID here in Australia then. It was just something that was somewhere else, and I didn't hang out with many people, so I didn't really know. So I went down on this trip, and I wrote 3 songs when I was there, and this was one of them. So it would have been like around the 2nd, 3rd, 4th of February. And I would say it was like it was guidance. It was like a knowing, and maybe that's why I was going through so much, being an empath and feeling things so deeply. I was probably already picking up on what was going on in the world, but I was just, I had my own little world, which is really important in these times as well. And I didn't know the extent of COVID. We didn't find out here until later in middle March, when we went out for tea for my eldest daughter's birthday at the time. She was turning 16, and we went out for her birthday, and they were talking about it then, and I think it was a few days later everything got shut down. So it was, over a month and a half between when I wrote the song and when COVID hit here in Australia, and well, in our state anyway, and so I really can't say that I wrote this song because of that. I actually wrote this song because of all the other research I'd done, all the other conspiracy theories I looked into. If you want me to talk more about that, I'll give you a quick list of the ones that I looked into a lot. So 9/11, of course, water-fueled cars, Stanley Myers. I looked into music and the satanic hold on the music industry. So I also looked into Epstein Island. I'd looked into it way back before 2020. And of course, back before 2020, you're a freak for all that sort of thing. I had looked into reptilians, David Icke stuff. I was very much into finding the truth in this world, and if finding the truth meant looking into the darkness, then that's where I went, because that was my goal, was to understand what was really happening in this world. And obviously since then, COVID came out, and now there's so many people putting videos up and sharing things, and now there's conspiracy theories which are way out there, and I mean, as if reptilians weren't out there enough, but as in people are adding just stuff to it. Now we have AI. I don't even know what's true, what's not. They can put people's faces in a video, they can put people's voices in a video, so I don't partake in it anymore. And I guess, they had the power to do that previously, but all the AIs were in a lot of trials, and I guess there was more trust in everything back then. But I did a lot of my own research. I didn't just, I read books as well. I did watch a lot of videos. But this also comes from my experience in my life. So I grew up on a farm, and I think I did say this in another video, I watched the seagulls not be there anymore. So seagulls, they would come down, the birds, and grab the worms from the soil when it was being ripped up, ready for seeding. And they disappeared by the time I was probably like 6 or 7. And then when I got into high school, we always used to do mushroom picking. Not that I ate them, I didn't like them, but I used to pick them for my parents, and I loved mushroom picking. And by the time I was in high school, they were all gone, because it was more and more chemicals. And I remember, as I went on in my journey and took out all of the household, toxic household items and personal care household items, and like I don't wear perfume anymore, I use essential oils. I'm very careful on what I do. My body is very sensitive. And so I did it for my own good as well. And along that journey, of course, it opened me up. It was really that opened me up to, like, why would they do that? Why would they put degreaser in baby products? And the things that I learned, because I mean, you put the baby in the bath, and then in your bubble bath has degreaser in it, like straight into the cell, a known carcinogen. Like, why would they do that? So that's just one example, because it's in the makeup industry, it's in the all personal care industry, it's in the cleaning products for your home. I mean, let alone the stuff that we sprayed for our bugs and everything. It's just everywhere. And the plug-in perfume things to your wall. The reeds, they're a bad one. The reeds in the nice smelly things, I can't stand them. They give me a headache. So I've always been a very sensitive, like my family, I'll probably do a video on it, but they call me, we call me the canary in the coal mine, because I'm literally, if there's something off, I'm the first one to smell it. My daughters are pretty good too with that. And so I had looked into this for my own health reasons as well. And then that led me on to a lot of things. And then I got told back in, I think it was 2010 or 11, I got told by a lady who I was going to a spiritual meditation group with about the Illuminati. And she always says to me, oh, you thought that I was just crackers, didn't you? And I'm like, well, yeah, because you kind of are. But I was just like, but I listened to you. I listened and I went and did my research, and yeah, it goes deep. And like I say, I looked into the music industry, obviously Hollywood, the whole lot. And that's how I came on this journey of writing this song. And I couldn't fit it all in to a song because there's that much corruption and shit in the world. I couldn't fit it into one song, but that was just a basic. I've had enough of this, it's everywhere. Well, since then it's got way worse. And with AI, it's getting even more so. And I've done one video on that, and I'm probably going to do another because I've learned a lot more about AI since that, in that short amount of time, and I'm sort of looking into it a lot more. But people, it's so easy to mind control people. So easy with technology and just with fear. COVID was a perfect example. Like, the people who didn't get vaccinated, like myself and my family, were granny killers. Guilt is another one they try to work on. And for someone like me who's an empath, that's an easy one to work on because I grew up with guilt through my family with a narcissistic father and an enabling mother. And so you fall for those things. You fall for those tactics, and they know it because they know the human mind and they know how to program the human so well. And so this song, well, it was a song at the time, I just read it as a poem, and people are going to be sick of hearing this, but I've had a thyroid problem, so I can't sing at the moment, and I'm choosing not to for my health. And and my voice has gone very low. Like today it's a bit lower again, but anyway, doing that song was just freeing for me, and I used to play it over and over because it was like, I know what you're doing. I'm not going to put up with it anymore. And you can't. Since then, I've learned, as they say, you can lead a horse to water. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it think. Was a new saying during COVID, I think. And that's the thing. Some people are so wrapped up in that world of somebody saving them that they're never going to hear this. Then they're not going to hear it. I don't know what it would take to hear it. I honestly don't. There's still people who believe that because they had the needles that kept them. Imagine how sick they would have got, even though they've had COVID 10 times. Imagine how sick I would have got. Like, I would have died if I didn't have those needles. And that's their belief. That's their world, and they stick to it. And I don't. I've always sort of stayed away from talking too much about these things because you can't convince people of anything. Consciousness is something you have to go through. Shifting consciousness and shifting frequency and vibration is something you have to go through. And for me, it was easy. Like, I was going to tell this story in another video actually, and I went off track, so I'll tell it now. But a lady that I used to do a lot of work with, she was an NLP therapist, as in I did my work with her. I paid her for sessions, and she was doing NLP. I did a whole hypnosis course, meditation course with her, because I had carbon monoxide poisoning and I had low energy. So when I brought my girls up, because I got chronic fatigue, I wanted to get my energy back, and it actually really helped with that. So for a long time I did it twice a day, and then I went to once a day, and I would meditate. I did it for years. And this lady, one day I remember saying to her, just saying how hard it is and how I feel like I'm just not progressing very much. And she's just like, are you serious? She's like, people, you do in 1 year what some people take 10, 15 years to do. And I stopped and I said, what's wrong with them? Why would people want to sit in their shit, was my exact words. Why would people want to sit in their shit? Because some people are happy to. They're comfortably uncomfortable. I know people who know all of this stuff, who I've known for a long time, who don't want to change. They don't want to change their routine. They don't want to change themselves. They don't want to change. And underneath that, I guess, is fear and a lot of programming and stuff. I'm not sure exactly where it comes from. in certain respects, humanity has become very lazy. And I don't mean that as in we need to go out there and do more work. And I mean they're good at like sticking to that 3D routine, that matrix routine. But when it comes to having to change that routine to help themselves and to heal themselves, because you have to put a wedge in it, and you have to make a choice of like, I know this is going to take 20 minutes of my time, half an hour of my time. And when you get to my stage, like I do stretches every morning, I have done for years. I do somatic exercises at night. I go out and sit with my feet on the lawn, and I ground pretty much every day, depending on weather. And I sit out there and I do processes where I do earthing and I do connection with the divine. I've done so much soul writing. I've done so much journaling. I've written my songs, and luckily for me, I enjoyed writing my songs. So my healing journal, which is my songs, 112 songs I think I've written, that became part of my healing. But it takes time to accept that. Even the meditation, when I was going through and learning that for my health, and I remember I said to her, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it twice a day. I had two young children. Like my youngest, I think was I think I started when she was like 14, 15 months old. And then I had my oldest, who at that stage would have been 4, I suppose, I think. And so I had a lot going on. And she just said to me, I've got a mother who's got twins, like twin babies, and a 4-year-old, and if she can do it, you can do it. And so again, guilted into something, but really it did make me sort of go, well, I have to do it. I have to do it for my family, because I need the energy to get through the day. I've got to like cook and clean and just do the mum stuff with the kids. And so it was out of necessity, I think. But some people won't even do it out of necessity. Some people would rather take a drug or do something for the rest of their lives. And this health problem that I have at the moment, I have to take medication for, which I did not like. 2 health issues I've had that I've had to take medication for. And I do not like using pharmaceuticals, but I will say, as much as I say we use them as a band-aid, and many people do, sometimes they can help for a little while. And I'm in that stage now where I have to use medication because my heart rate was going through the roof, and I ended up being diagnosed with Graves' disease, but now they're not sure because my thyroid scan is showing up as actual thyroiditis, but yet I have the immune, whatever it is, raised. So until my next set of results, I'm not sure if we'll really know 100%. But either way, there's been an upset in my apple cart. and like I've said to people, this is why I'm doing this channel. But the point is that I have seen this darkness deeply. And I didn't know when I wrote that song that what I was heading into, or what I was already in, and what was about to become worse. Now, there's 2 ways of thinking of this. You were looking at the darkness, so therefore what you focus on, you see more of. So, there's all that sort of thing, energy flows where attention goes, or whatever the saying is. There's that. And then there's the other side of it, where it's actually looking at the darkness to bring it up, to reveal it. There's 2 paths, and I believe in the second one. I believe for me, who I am, what I've come here for, which is to transmute darkness, I needed to understand it at a deep level. Unfortunately, for my body, it has been a task to be here and go through all the darkness that I've been through. But I do know darkness very, very well, because it has tried to ruin my life, because I came down here to transmute darkness, to be a beacon of light, and they don't want that. I said in the other video, they wanted me dead. And and I look back in my life once I got told that by Tracy. I will put her book up here again. um, I got told that, and I looked back on my life at all the times where, yeah, I could have died. And I think I can see what happened and where it happened, and now I understand why they were doing it. Back then I didn't know. I just thought it was bad luck and coincidence, and things happen in life and you move on. Now I get it at a very deep level what was happening. And the more that I looked into darkness and understood it and started learning how to deal with it, and the more I healed myself, the worse it all got, because it meant that I was rising, and they didn't want me to rise. They didn't want me to find my true power, which now I'm stepping into. And so that song now still has a lot of meaning for me, but I've gone, turbo since then, where I don't necessarily look into everything as much, because, once there's no point keeping on looking into it, because darkness is dark, right? it is. That's what it is. By definition, darkness is dark. It does dark things. It does horrible things. It wants its control here on Earth to remain, which is what this shift is about, is bringing all that darkness up. That's why we're hearing about Epstein. That's why all these things are becoming so mainstream now. All of these conspiracy theories are coming up as mainstream, because now it's time for us to understand it and to actually see it. If you can't see something, you don't, if you've got something wrong with your body and you don't have a test, or you don't know, you're just suffering, and you're going, I don't know what's going on. I haven't, have you been to the doctor? No. Well then, have some tests done, like find out what's going on with you, because it's that sort of scenario, where if you don't look at something, then you're never going to know what the problem is. And that's what's happening with darkness. It's being looked at now. And for me, it was looked at very, very intricately. And because I went into the music industry so much, because I write songs, and then I learnt to tune my guitar, and I'll talk way to 528 frequency, which is the frequency of love, 528 hertz. And it took me on a very big journey, and learning about the Church of Satan and Freemasonry, and even the I won't go into the Freemasonry thing right yet, but and I know people get all poopy about, like, Freemasonry, people who have done it and that, and they say it's not bad and blah blah blah, and it's like, well, I'm not sure which one you were going to, but I know the ones that do it, the elites. Oh god, I hate them being called that. Anyway, the ones who rule the world, they're into it. Like Walt Disney, perfect example. Look up Walt Disney. Look at the pornography in Disney movies, which is, some people say that's not true and blah blah blah, but whatever. Decide for yourself. Subliminal messaging in children's movies. They do anything. That's why I don't not believe things, because I'm like, when I looked into reptilians, and I was a freak for doing that, and aliens, and now it's the very things that I have to remove from my own energy field, my family. It will be what I will do for people, is remove multidimensional beings from controlling somebody else's energy system, really. And when it gets bad, it can be controlling their mind, schizophrenia, all those sorts of things. It's real. So this was kind of like the start of my journey into darkness, and it was kind of my mission, I would say, to be here to reveal it, and also to heal it. There's plenty of people who reveal it, and then people have this, you manifest things and don't watch this and don't do that. They have these all ideas of what you should do about it, and all of them are true to a degree. But unless you're getting in at the source of, because they feed on trauma. Who hasn't been through some sort of trauma? They love even just the fear of COVID and everything. They love it. Like, that's where entities get in. Fear, trauma, even if that's like physical trauma. Any time where you're in fear, or you've had even like being under anesthetic, and then I won't even go into like all of the ceremonies that you can do, the spiritual ones. That's for another topic. When you're not in your consciousness, your own consciousness, when you have decided to do something that takes you away from that, whether it's drugs and that can be any type, including the ones that people do in these ceremonies, any time that you are not in your full aware consciousness, there can be infiltration. And because you're basically saying, I'm open to anything. And even if you're not saying that consciously, you're literally lowering your frequency. You're not lowering your frequency all the time with certain things, certain drugs you are, and alcohol and things like that, but you're literally opening yourself up to a whole world that you may not actually be ready for. And I'll tell you how, when I first learned about ayahuasca, was when I did my pranic healing, and a bloke there said, and I think I have said this in another video, that when he went and did it, there was people there that were freaking out, like screaming, trying to get away. And he said they were seeing aliens and they were seeing all sorts. And I was like, whoa, back then I thought, wow, massive hallucinations. Now I know it's real. Now I know what they were seeing was real. And he said he had a good experience other than them all screaming and that. And that's the thing with darkness. It can come as blunt darkness, just as it is, or it can dress up as light. Very, very smart beings that we deal with. So, I know all about it in various forms, and yes, I've lived it, and I now live trying to take the things out of my life that are in that system. So the matrix, the systems, what we've grown up in. That's why I homeschooled my girls. I wish I hadn't vaccinated them at all, but I did until they were 5 or 6 years. I think one was 5 and one was 6, but they were about 6 years old, and then I stopped. One I did detox in between, and she didn't have the full range of needles that she was meant to. But I was very scared. Fear, see? Of what my family would say if they got something. I didn't want them to get something, some disease. I had a lot of fear, and obviously back then it wasn't as big a thing, and where we lived it wasn't a thing at all. Like, very close-minded town that I live in, even though there's lots of people, very close-minded, and so homeschooling was a massive issue for people. And I homeschooled when my eldest was year 4 and my youngest was year 1. We pulled them out. We were going to travel around Australia, but it didn't happen. But we homeschooled them and kept it that way. And the only time they went back to my youngest one went back to school was because we had so much going on here that I couldn't really do it anymore, because we talked about my dog Charlie with seizures, and we had Ollie with IBD, and there was other things going on, and it was entity interference, or excuse me. And so it's my job here is to make people, you can't make people do anything, to try to help people understand that it's not all la-di-da, just do your healing and release things and bring in your light, because your light is powerful enough that, entities can't touch you and all this sort of stuff, which is fine if you're standing in your true power. And not many of us are yet. Not many of us are standing in our true power, because it's been infiltrated along the way most of the time, especially if you're a light worker. So you can, I had all sorts of buzzes. I had all the feels. I felt the feels when I would do things like this, like, when I would, like, expand my energy out and feel this and blah 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 blah. But it never really had any effect. I think I've talked in the last video about manifesting and all the things that I just worked. I'll actually do a video. I might do it on my next one when we have the meaningful musings, and show you all of the little things that I did and the ceremonies. And I can't show you them, but if I can find any of the candles and that, a lot of stuff is everywhere. Like I said, the mess behind me I talked about in the last video. But yeah, you don't put in like I did and not get, and people wonder, they're like, why aren't I getting the results? Well, just do this, buy this other program, do this, do that. And yeah, and I know that I've got an ability to heal. As much as I've only done it for a few people, I have never done it as a career, because my body and my life, I was attacked by darkness constantly until I was 46 and I found Tracy, and then I was able to be free of it, so I can actually now see what manifestation is actually like because before it was infiltrated. So this is me having a chance to show you, because how many people are already there when you see them? Everybody wants everybody's polished. They're polished and they understand it. They're already there. What about the journey to there? What about watching somebody actually go through that journey? Yeah, you weren't here through my darkest times, but I'm still having to heal from that, as in my body and my nervous system. And I have so much wisdom of that journey. And, I think entity involvement for me and for everything I know is the most important thing, because really that's why we have the chemicals. That's why people lose their lives, the whistleblowers and the people who were inventors and things like that. It happens all the time. Happens all the time. They don't want it. Like, there's meant to be free energy. Nikola Tesla, and now Elon, it has stolen it. The name Tesla. And corrupted that whole thing, because we should be, and has made a chip that can be put into people. And of course, it's always displayed as good for a start. So this chip will help people who can't, do things or whatever, and now they can. That is fantastic, because there's always a good side to it. The other side is, that's practice. They want transhumanism. I talked about this in my AI video. And you can even look it up. It's not just a conspiracy theory. You just have to do a quick Google search and it will tell you what it is. And the benefits of it for humanity. And AI is another step towards that. So people need to wake up and be conscious of what they're doing. That's why it's called consciousness. Be conscious. What are you taking in? Like physically, mentally, your eyes, your ears, your music, your frequency. What are you taking in? All of it is so important. Like those death metal bands that just scream. I'm like, how could anybody like that stuff? And so many young people like it. I'm just like, dude, that's so dark. So dark. Yeah, just can't even understand them. And my husband works in a workshop and as a mechanic, a diesel mechanic, and he said he won't allow it on his crew because it's just, he said you can't, like, he said, I don't even know how they deal with it. He said it just, like, a minute of it and he's just like, I want to just smash somebody, because he said it's that dark and just gets in your head, and yet they love it. I'm just like, what is going on? What is going on when people love that sort of thing? Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I mean, I'm not into opera. Don't get me wrong. I don't really like opera. I'm not that person. I'm not into that. But you know, I'd rather that than that screaming. Jimmy Barnes was enough, and AC/DC and that back in the 80s and 90s, and I'm just like, 80s really, and I just think that was enough. At least you could understand it. I remember my parents back then would be like, oh, all he does is yells. It's like now we know singers that actually yell. But anyway, that should be for my music, my video on frequency and music. But anyway, yeah, I am watching and I understand it deeply. And when the time is right, I'll be offering that healing. And I just did a healing on my daughter last night, who has had her periods and the pain and felt sick, and I think it's from a lot of Panadol and the shift we're going through, because we just had one of the eclipses. And yeah, I did healing on her and some entity removal and things and emotional stuff, and then yeah, in 5 minutes she was up. I know it works, and I know that's why they didn't want me here, because it's been my gift, and I know I have to start using it, but I also want to get myself to a place where I can be relied upon by people and not drained by it either, not drained by I've got to get my body to a better place, so which I'm working on, guys. And then I'll be free to help you if you would so like to be helped. But yeah, thanks for watching this one today. This song actually means quite a lot to me, because it was kind of like that anthem for me. I know what you're doing, darkness, and I'm here to help in a completely different way. Yep, I'm not just here to, show you conspiracy theories, or your toxic food or your toxic house care products or this or that. I'm here to actually get to the cause, which is the interference, the entity interference, and it's become kind of my thing. Just want to show you my shirt before I go, because this is like, when people think it's about money, that's another thing. Like, my dad's always like, oh, it's about money, that's why they do it. They just want money. And I'm like, of course you'd think that, because you're money orientated. But I'm like, it's not. It's about control. It's about control. And at the deeper, well, I never tell him this because he's not on this page at all, but deeper than this, it's literally about their food source. It's about them. If they lose, if people wake up, they got nothing to feed off anymore. And like Tracy talked about this when I did the course with her, but it wasn't just her knowledge that told me that. I've known for a long time that they feed off of negative energy. That's what they do. That's their source of energy. Their energy is their currency, not money. Energy. So there's one to remember. But I'll just quickly show you my shirt. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. There's a good one for you. And that's what they have, is the power. They have it through deceit, through manipulation, through mind control. And through traumas and dramas and world wars and all the other stuff that they do constantly, and all the viruses and all the, how many of them, like COVID. There was a massive thing even at the start. I do remember that on the news, because once we found out about it, we did watch it a bit. Not much though, because then it just became every day, all the time, with the things behind the big things behind the screen that were floating around, the big virus things. Fuck's sake. But yeah, I just lost what I was going to say. Whoops. Do that. I don't know. I've lost that one, but it's just in your face constantly, and then you can't go to a loved one's funeral. How fucked up is that? Because of something you're not even going to die from. Generally, you're not even going to die from it. And they wouldn't even let close family go to funerals sometimes, or 10 people at a funeral. Like, fucking really? Yeah. interference at the maximum level, trauma at the maximum level. If you don't get to grieve properly, massive block in your lungs and your heart. So, you know, they know what they're doing. And I just want people to understand that. Like I say, can't make people understand that. But that's why I'm here, to talk about it from a whole nother level. And yeah. Anyway, that's enough for today. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time. And hopefully I'll remember to do the one with my manifestation techniques and what didn't work for me. And we all know now why it didn't. Okay, take care, guys. Bye.